Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the A segment of episode 2 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation S.C.R.E.A.M. We begin this segment with two kids eagerly awaiting the arrival of the ice cream truck. Unfortunately, the ice cream truck simply passes by the two kids, but the two kids do notice that 4 of the 5 operatives from Sector V of the Kids Next Door have hijacked the ice cream truck, and eventually the ice cream truck drives up to a nearby cliffside. We now see that number 4 is driving the ice cream truck. Number 3 is in the back of the truck trying to bypass the security on the ice cream machine. And number 1 and number 5 are on the roof of the truck. They're wearing magnetic shoes in order to keep them from falling off the roof. And they're trying to interrogate the ice cream man, saying that they've had it with the ice cream men passing by kids who want ice cream and only giving ice cream to whoever they deem to be responsible adults. Suddenly, 3 other ice cream men, each in their own respective ice cream truck, arrive on the cliffside road, and they're trying to chase after the ice cream truck that the kids next door have hijacked. So we get a rather big, I guess you could call it a vehicle fight or a vehicle chase sequence where the trio of ice cream men are using all sorts of traps like ice cream cone drills and hot fudge oil slick to try and stop the kids next door. But Despite their efforts, though, the trio of ice cream men are eventually defeated, so the kids next door are able to successfully defeat the trio of ice cream men. And number 1 and number 5 succeed in interrogating the ice cream man of the truck that they've commandeered. They figured out that the ice cream men are hoarding the ice cream in their ice cream factory, and that there's a password to bypass the security measures of the factory. And the ice cream man confesses that the password to bypass the factory's security measures is Frosty, which number 5 points out kind of makes sense for an ice cream factory. Soon enough, though, number 4 goes on top of the roof of the truck, and he tells number 1 and number 5 that some more ice cream men have arrived, but now they're preparing a roadblock to stop them. Number 1 tells number 4 to tell number 4 to turn the truck around, but number 4 points out number 1 is already talking to him, number 4. So number 1 is, in a rather baffled manner, he questions who's driving the truck now. And we see no one is driving the truck right now. So the ice cream man falls off the truck onto the road near his fellow co-workers who are preparing the roadblock. And the ice cream truck with the 4 Sector V operatives falls off the cliffside. But it doesn't completely fall, because we soon see that number 2, piloting one of the various kids next door vehicles, the Mosquito, successfully caught the ice cream truck with his teammates. So Sector V successfully escapes falling, and they head off to the ice cream factory. The other ice cream men then help up their coworker that was interrogated, and they bring him to an ice cream limo where we see the delightful children from down the lane are inside the limo, and we find out that the ice cream man giving the password to Sector V was part of a plan of some kind. On the way to the ice cream factory, number 1 goes over why exactly the ice cream men are hoarding the ice cream in their factory. It turns out they're planning to throw an ice cream party for adults only with no kids allowed. And yeah, number 2, number 4, and number 5 are not happy to hear this. Number 3, though, only hears ice cream party, and she's quite excited. She even switches to a party dress to celebrate the news. But soon enough, they do arrive at the ice cream factory, and number 1 tells number 3 to input the password. And although number 3 is typing, the security measures of the factory are still activating, and number 1 soon sees that number 3 was actually typing "I love parties," so he eventually has to type the password himself to make sure that it actually is being typed. And yes, Frosty is a legitimate password because the security measures stop once that password has been typed in. So the mosquito lands on the roof of the factory, and number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 5 sneak into the factory while number 2 stays on the mosquito to prepare collecting the ice cream. When they're inside the factory, number 1, number 4, and number 5 find the container with the ice cream, or the big tank or container full of ice cream. Number 3 went off to look for blankets because of how cold the factory is. So number 1 tells number 2 that they found the ice cream. So number 2 uses the mosquito to collect the ice cream in a container in the back of the mosquito. Suddenly, though, the delightful children reveal themselves to number 1, number 4, and number 5, and reveal that this was part of a trap that they've pulled. And they word their trap as the ice cream will be eating them rather than the ice cream will be eating the kids next door is how they describe this trap. And number 2 notices something's going on with the ice cream that's been stored on the mosquito. Suddenly, the mosquito falls through the roof into the ice cream factory, and we see that the ice cream that was collected actually is an ice cream beast. And yeah, a kaiju-sized ice cream creature. It kind of resembles a turtle to me. Kind of looks like a giant ice cream turtle. That's the best way I can think to describe this beast. And the ice cream beast manages to subdue number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 1 without really breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, number 3 has entered one of the office. Yeah, the room she entered is an office for the ice cream factory. She doesn't find any blankets, but she does find a heater, and she turns up the temperature. And I kid you not, the setting she sets it to it says like 11 billion degrees. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's actually the setting that she sets it for. And a good thing too, because the heater kicks in and the ice cream beast starts to melt. Not to mention the trapped Sector V operatives are able to break free because of the ice cream melting. Number 3 calls out to her teammates that she found the heater, and she sees the ice cream beast melting and wondering if the party started without her. The delightful children, though, are baffled that there's a heater in an ice cream factory, and they question some of the ice cream men, why would they put a heater in an ice cream factory? And the only thing they can do is just like, I don't know. So with the ice cream beast melted, it turns into a flood of ice cream, essentially. It's like almost like a flood, except it's ice cream rather than water. So everyone in the ice cream factory is carried out of the factory because of the flooded ice cream. And the Sector V operatives in particular, they happen to run into the 2 kids from the beginning of the segment. So now the Sector V operatives and the two kids are now essentially they're riding the flood, I guess is the best way I can think to describe it. Number 5 questions what they do now. Number 3 just sings Ice Cream Party and everyone else joins in. And yeah, so the kids are singing Ice Cream Party as the ice cream flood is going down the streets, and that's how we end the segment. So we have ourselves our first approximately 11-minute segment, because I did mention before the season 1 premiere, episode 1, actually had 3 approximately 7-minute segments rather than the traditional 2 approximately 11-minute segments. So this was the first 11-minute segment that was made for Codename Kids Next Door. And I do remember this was also the segment, and episode 2 in general was actually the formal series premiere. That is to say, it was the first episode to premiere when Codename Kids Next Door was made into a TV series. Like I said before, for some reason, episode 1 was held off until later on during season 1's schedule of premieres, but I digress. But in any case, this was definitely I really do enjoy this segment. I thought this really was a good start for the series, or at least a good start for the 11-minute segments. I thought this was a good start. And particularly because they started with that car or road chase sequence, or that road fight sequence. Like, that was pretty cool. I remember when I first watched the segment, I really was excited by that fight sequence or chase sequence, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, that was definitely a good way to say I'm sold on this show. And I do think, and it is nice to know that the series, at least I felt this, and I'm sure many others felt it as well, but felt the series kept improving over time. So for me, Codename Kids Next Door is a series where I definitely think that there isn't really a bad entry in the series, or at least I don't remember myself ever thinking there was a bad entry. Like, I felt even the weaker entries were still enjoyable in some way. So that was a good sign for me. And yeah, I could definitely relate to the whole wanting to go to the ice cream truck. I'm sure many people have fond memories whenever they hear the ice cream truck in their neighborhood. Although, thankfully, the ice cream people that I knew they never held off on giving ice cream to anyone. But yeah, I can see how, the idea of, but yeah, this is Codename Kids Next Door, which is a show about how adults are trying, which kind of turns mundane situations into a battle between good and evil, or kids and adults. And yeah, it's over the top. It's an over the top storyline, but I always felt that was part of the charm of the series. Like, that over the top situation had its charm to it. And yeah, the Ice Cream Men go on to become recurring enemies throughout the series, and them being affiliated with the Delightful Children from down the lane. Yeah, that's established that the Delightful Children's family, their family, the family that the Delightful Children are a part of, are more or less said to be the ones who own the company that the Ice Cream Men are affiliated with. So yeah, you're going to be seeing the Delightful Children with the Ice Cream Men in many other future entries. And another villain is, of course, affiliated with them as well, but we'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to it. Now, as far as who would be the spotlight who would be the spotlight character for this segment, because a lot of people do feel that this was a good segment that introduced the team as a whole. Though I noticed some viewers also thought that this segment could be seen as a spotlight entry for number 3, or I've noticed some viewers feel that number 3 was the spotlight character for this segment. And I definitely could see that. Number 3 did end up saving the day after all because she found the heater, which defeated the ice cream beast. So I could see that, yeah. So depending on, yeah, whether you want to think of this segment as like a team segment or a number 3 segment, I did think it was a pretty good introduction for the 11-minute segments. And otherwise, yeah, I think that's about it for this particular segment. Yeah, just like it was, it kind of helped to showcase the more traditional length of time for the entries or the segments because, like I said, episode 1's segments had shorter runtime, so this one kind of gave us a better idea of what we could expect from the future segments in terms of runtime. And like I said, I think they made the most of this segment's runtime, and I do think it was a good introduction for the ice cream men, some recurring enemies, and it kind of does help to expand how the delightful children are the most frequent villains in the series. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it for now. So as of this video, we've now discussed the A segment of episode 2 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time.